Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello everyone and happy holiday weekend if you're in the US anyway, and I hope you're doing something fun. Today I'm going to a barbecue this evening, and it's actually the first time I've had specific like 4th of July plans in a long time. Usually I like have something going on during the weekend vaguely, but this time I actually have plans tonight and I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope you're doing something with your family and you're enjoying yourself. But today we're here to talk about the books that I read this week, and I'm really impressed with myself that I still got through some, and in fact they were some bangers. There was some really great books to talk about. Yeah, I'm really excited about this, especially because I was away at family camp this week. It's a camp that I go to in the middle of Minnesota in Alexandria every year. I have for the last 10 years with my friend's family, who's like my family as well. And I was surprised I still got through a couple of books, which was great. One of them was an audio, so that helped. And then being back, I had some annotated books to get through. And that is exciting because I did finish up all of the pre-orders from April when I did an annotated pre-order. And so there will be another one of those going up in the next week. Hopefully the plan is for it to be next weekend that I'll run the pre-order. So patrons will get early access to that, but I will run it publicly as well. So if you'd like to get a book from me where I read it, and annotate my thoughts to you while I do it, you will be able to pre-order one of those. So that will be exciting. So definitely follow me. You can follow me for free on Patreon. You don't have to be a member to be following for that or to get updates on it. Or check out my YouTube community tab is a good place to look in as well. Also wanted to say a welcome to a new channel member, Megan M. So Megan M joined at the Romantic Renegade level, which means she gets early access to videos like this one right now, as well as gets to vote on polls like the one I did for the Bodyguard rec video that just went up. You get to vote on videos that I make monthly and things like that. So thank you so much, Megan. I'm so happy to have you. It means so much to me that you support what I do here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and to get into what I read this week, because I have some stuff to say for sure. Okay, so the first thing that I read, I'm so excited to show off actually, was Unguarded by Noel Adams. So this is this cute little book actually. And Noel Adams is the author that I work for, Noel Adams, aka Claire Kent. And she had these adorable little like pocket-sized books made, and you can actually get these ones on Amazon. These aren't a website exclusive or anything like that. Though I think she has signed copies available on the website with these ones. I'm not sure, but you can get these right on Amazon this size. They're even smaller than, oh, I don't have one really close by to me right now. I don't know. They're even smaller than her copies of like Tower and Ashes and stuff like that. They're so cute. But I read this one to do a content pull for her because I believe this one, these books are going into KU. She has some books going into KU now in July. She does kind of a rotating schedule of her books. So I'll have a link down below for this. And I do believe, yeah, you'll be able to read this one in KU. But this one was so cute. And this is book one in a little novella trilogy that is the One Fairy Tale Wedding is what the series is called. And it's about this like weekend with these three friends that are all getting their fairy tales coming true at this one wedding. And this one particularly, it's so cute. I'll read the little back of it here. It says, once upon a time, a girl was treated like a princess all her life, but then her parents died and they left her in the care of a beast. Now, it isn't quite that dramatic, but she was going for the flair of kind of a fairy tale thing. And it does open with kind of like this prologue that's told in a bit of a fairy tale fashion. And then it goes into a more normal, like story-like setting. And you can really tell that when this was written, which it was originally 2018, that Noel was kind of trying to fit into the vibe of a lot of the like fairy tale retellings and stuff that were happening at that time. But this is about Charlie and Simon. And Simon is actually her financial advisor, or you could stretch and say he is like a financial guardian if you want to kind of fit it into that trope. But she is 18 when her parents die. And again, she is an heiress. She's very wealthy. And so she is left with millions. And Simon is a friend of her father and again is also her financial advisor. And so she has her money left in trust. I think it's supposed to be until she is like 25 or so. Let's see what it says. Or 24th, which I guess is an interesting year for that to happen. But when she is 24 is when she'll be able to get full control, but he will still stay kind of as her like, I mean, he still will be her finance guy, but because he's a little more than like just the financial advisor, because he was a family friend, he's a little more involved in her life than that. And he is quite a bit older. This one has a pretty big age gap. So when she is, so she's 24 in the prologue of this book. And then she's 25 when the one fairy tale wedding happens, because I don't want to give the whole story away because it's a novella, but in the prologue, she's 24 and she's reminiscing on the last like years of her life of how Simon has been her financial guardian. She sees him as kind of this grumpy beast of a character who she has to talk about with her finances. And yes, he gives her good advice, but he's really stodgy and he's not a lot of fun and yada, yada, yada. And one night she comes home from a bad date and he is actually staying at the house, which is a mansion. And he's already like locked the house up for the night, not realizing she was out at a date. Because again, she doesn't have to update him on her life, but it sets off the alarm. And so he comes down to turn off the alarm and he's in just gray sweatpants. And he's got some gray at the temples because he's almost 40. And again, she's 24. And for the first time, she sees him as this absolute hunk. And she's like, oh my gosh, who is this guy? And she's been dating these guys who they know she's an heiress, and she can tell after a few dates that they're all after her money, and she's just not really feeling it. And so this night in the prologue, he again is kind of being a grump, but he sits there, he has hot chocolate with her, and he tells her, make sure you hold out for someone who, you know, wants you for more than your money. And he says, like, you aren't stupid. Like, you'll find someone who's meant to be with you. And then she also remembers something that her mother had said. And that's, you know, you'll know someone who is like meant for you by the little things they do when you can't see. And so when she goes to head up to bed, she kind of had like, you know, just left stuff out. Because again, she's a little bit spoiled. Again, she's a princess. And when the maid comes in the morning, she'll clean up after her. But instead, she you know, is going to go upstairs, and she looks behind her and she sees that Simon is like picking up after her in this really like loving way. And he like picks up her sweater she'd taken off and he like smells it. And she sees him do all these sweet things. And she gets it in her head that she wants him. And so she comes up with a plan to try to get Simon. And so that happens in the prologue. And then we fast forward a year later and all the things are in motion. There's this wedding coming up and she's convinced him to go as her date. And so she's set all this in motion. And again, it's one fairy tale wedding. So she also has two other friends. It's the three of them that they're all trying to get their happily ever after at this wedding. So anyway, that was a lot of setup, like I said, for this short little novella, but that's all of the setup in the prologue. And then she's going to try to seduce him at this wedding. And I just thought it was so cute. And again, I believe this is in KU right now. And it was so fun. So I definitely want to read the other two as well, just as a fan of hers. And like, I can't just reach the second one here too. They each have a really cute cover. This is the second one. So I really want to read these two. The third one, I can't quite reach it from where I'm sitting, but this was super fun. And again, I don't rate the books that I read for Noel because I'm working for her, so it isn't fair to do that, but I'll have a link down below to this if you want to get a copy for yourself. Next up, I had an ALC for Promise Me This by Jennifer Susovic. And this is, wow, what were we up to? I didn't write it down. I think this one is book 4 in the Chicago... Shoot, I was going to write down the name of the team. But anyway, it is a pro hockey team romance. And this one, I'd forgotten how excited I was for it, you know, because I read a lot of hockey romance here. But I know that I love this series by Jennifer Susovic. I've been getting all of the audiobooks for it. The first time I had read her was with this series, and I've been working my way through it as they've come out. And this one here is about Kia and Lakin. And the reason I was so excited is I forgot the setup, how we left it in the last one. And Kia is the sister of the hero from the third book. And in that one was an accidental pregnancy for the couple in that book. And we find out in that one because the heroine in that one, when she moves in with the hero, she finds out that his sister, who has left college, is pregnant. And so they're pregnant at the same time. And Kia, who was going to school, has found out she's pregnant. And she hasn't told her brother yet, but her, let's just say what it is, her future sister-in-law is pregnant too. And so she recognizes the signs because Kia is having morning sickness and is really sick, but she's afraid to tell her brother. And I think she has brothers. Like, I think she has... older brothers, and she's afraid they're going to be disappointed in her because they've taken such good care of her. I don't think they have any family left. Their dad had left and their mom has died. And she doesn't want them to be disappointed in her. And also the man who impregnated her, who, you know, she liked him as a boyfriend, he has been pressuring her to take care of it. We all know what that means. And she doesn't want to do that. And he is relentlessly hounding her to do that, even though she's like, I won't force you to be a part of this kid's life. He, I guess, is also like a hockey player, but like in college still maybe or something. And he is just relentlessly like pressuring her. And so she left school, but she doesn't know what to do. And then we have Lakin, who is the goalie on the team. We love a goalie. And he is a single dad. And his wife actually had left him because she didn't want to be a mom. She didn't like the pressure of it. And that really broke Lakin's heart because he really wanted to be a dad, or he loves being a dad. And he is just, you know, heartbroken that his wife left. But he also is in a custody battle with his in-laws because they don't think he's a stable parent, even though he's a multimillionaire goalie for a successful hockey team who's a very involved parent for being a full-time athlete, and can hire all the help in the world. They still think he is an insufficient parent, even though their daughter is the one who ditched him and has run off. Honest to goodness, I'm honestly not like when I reviewed this for the review, like, I'm not mad at the author for doing this storyline. I just, again, being someone who pays a lot of attention to like court systems and like laws and things like this just would so not happen. There are no signs of neglect. There would just be absolutely no reason that these grandparents would have even a hope or a prayer of trying to take they want to try to take full custody of this little girl. Like, they're trying to get full custody because he travels for work. But his daughter is well loved and he's a multi-millionaire. And again, their daughter's the one who abandoned her parental rights and left. Like, it is so whack. And so, but the point is, it's to add tension because Kia really likes his little girl, which I can't remember the little girl's name, and the little girl really loves her. And his little girl had like met Kia when there was a couple of team get-togethers, and Kia's there like with her brother and everything. And Kia actually comes to hang out with his little girl one day, and he's worried about like being seen as like being a playboy or anything, because that could be bad for his in-laws. Like, a guy's not allowed to hook up with anyone when he has a kid. Like, again, that is just so not how this stuff works. So it really irritates me when authors put some of that stuff in there. Like, courts would just so not take any of this seriously. Like, unless there had been an incident where he'd really, really fucked up, and there was one incident they were holding against him. And in this book then, you know, with Kia's ex kind of stalking her, I guess is what ends up supposed to being like that could put his custody with his daughter at risk. But it's just so illogical to add tension. I was getting a bit frustrated. But I want to be clear. I put a lot of that aside because I loved this book. So what the thrust of this ends up being is that she ends up being the live-in nanny for him, and he ends up finding out she's pregnant, and then because he always wanted more kids as well, and then to also keep her safe from the guy who's stalking her, and to also help secure his custody agreement, which again, he doesn't need a custody agreement, it's his child. They end up doing a marriage as well. So there was a lot going on in this book, but I really liked it. I liked how he was when he found out she was pregnant. I loved the little girl. I loved her nannying. The only thing that was a little wacky about it to me, honestly, was the grandparents. Like, I think it would be one thing if there had been an incident that they were using. There wasn't any at all. So all they were was a grandparents who wanted to take full custody away from the parent who was the stable parent. Just because he's busy and he's a multi-millionaire who loves his daughter and has never put her in danger, and their daughter abandoned her parental rights. They don't have a say in this. Like, they just don't. It's not that it could never try, but like, it's not how it works. And I know that because of stuff in my own life that I've seen happen. Like, it just doesn't work that way. But whatever, it added the drama, and it meant that, you know, the few situations where they got in really sticky spots because of her ex, or, you know, paparazzi seeing them or things like that, like, it was supposed to raise the tension, right? Which it does. And I really like this book overall. Like, that's why I'm nitpicking on those things, because, I mean, I don't know. I think there are other ways they could have used the ex-in-laws to put tension in, rather than them just being like, we're trying to take custody. Like, I think they could have used them differently than just that. That wasn't illogical. Like, I think they could have done it in a different way. Like, what if they were spreading stories to the media about him to do that, or had a PI following to do that, or got that person looking into Kia's past to do that, instead of just every time they'd see him have them being mean. Like, there are just more complex ways to do it. And honestly, showing them being more caring about Kia too, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, they had Kia say some nice things about her grandparents, but really show them being loving. Like, they didn't have to look like an enemy, and they still could have been like a roadblock, right? I don't know. So anyway, but overall, I still gave this a 4.5 star because I loved the relationship with Lake and Kia. I loved watching that grow. I loved how he supported her. I loved, I just loved all that stuff. That's why, like, I'm nitpicking that stuff, but it's really not the most important part of the story, so I didn't hold it against the story overall. You guys know, when we fixate on small things, we do. I loved it. The narration was duet narration by J.F. Harding and Savannah Peachwood. Brilliant. Love them. And yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. It was a 3 on the spice scale. And yeah, watch out for, there was stalking and some annoying stuff from the ex in there. Okay, and then I did have one fan fiction this week. I was reading this one on my Kindle at camp. Read No Turning Back. So I read gay romance on my Kindle instead. I read No Turning Back by Meniska. And this one was another Ilya injury fic. And I was really liking this one a lot. It is a twist on, let's see, where did this one change at? It is okay, so it's post Cottage, but before Ilya has moved to Ottawa. So he's in his last season in, at the Bears, and he gets injured. And Shane ends up going to the hospital. And so it's one of those where everybody finds out. But it's before, like, they're just barely getting the Irina Foundation going. Like, they hadn't even made their, like, announcement yet that they were friends yet. So that's when it is. It's supposed to be, like, right after the Cottage when they go back. He hasn't even, like, switched yet. And now he gets hurt. So now it has, like, is Ottawa willing to take on an injured Ilya instead? How does that help them get better spending their cap on an injured Ilya instead? And then it has a storyline of course, homophobic Montreal, though it does have Hayden and JJ both become very supportive, get on board really well, really like that. My kind of only issues with this is just that this one ended up being really long and it didn't go as far into the story as I want. Like, it ends up just taking place really kind of like post heated rivalry up to the point where, like, I mean, they do end up getting, like, married at the end of it. So I guess it goes kind of like through the longest, but it, like, switches the story up, right? Which of course it does. Of course that's what a fic does. Of course. But, like, it goes through just, like, the next, like, season. And yeah, that's kind of what happens. So, but it ends up being really long, but yet doesn't move forward as much. That's just what I mean. It feels like there's just a lot of spinning wheels in this story, and it, in page count, is like 522 pages, right? Like, it was like 100 and, what was it? Like 110K words or so. So it just was, like, really long and felt like I was spinning my wheels. Like, on the last night that I was reading it, I was like, are we done yet? Are we done yet? And I kind of was skimming a bit at the end, which is fine. That happens in fic sometimes, when, you know, maybe the fic author, like, if they haven't edited as, like, a whole, right? Like, if you're just editing it chapter after chapter, you're maybe not seeing it, right? And they're also not writing a regular story. It's a fic, and it was still really, really good. So I still recommend it if you want to read an injury fic, and there's some really beautiful love in it. Alrighty, we have 3 books that I annotated. First off, though, we have the one that I did for Patreon. So, you know, won't be talking about this one here, but I read Rope and Moon by Ava Hunter. This was my first book by Ava Hunter, which is a shocker. Just the teeniest bit of backstory that isn't giving away my thoughts on it. I do own the first book in this series. I own 2 books by Ava Hunter that my lovely patron and friend Megan actually picked up for me at a book signing, because I really had wanted to try the first book in this series, and I just never got around to it because I'm a lazy bitch. But I never got around to trying it. And then this one was picked for Patreon for a second chance romance. Just to give a bit more color, this one is also a woman on the run and not his baby. So she ends up coming back home to her small town, pregnant with her abusive ex's baby, and she comes back to her small town in Montana. It has also a wounded warrior type situation. He raises he rehabilitates veteran like war dogs as well. He has a Belgian Malinois named Kina, who is his bestie. Love it. So this was a really interesting one, and my exclusive review is live on my Patreon right now. So definitely go check that out. Also, I forget to mention this on here, but I really should more, because Patreon, just being honest, is 1000% what keeps me going. Between my, sorry, just busting this in here, but here's a little self-promo in here. Between my annotated pre-orders, which started as such a small thing to just offer more opportunities for people to get annotated books from me. But between my annotated pre-orders, the work I do for Noel, and my Patreon, that is how I'm able to provide for myself. That is what I am able to do. So on my Patreon right now, I have a little playlist. I think it's pinned on the Patreon main page of mine. I have a little sampler pack of what you can get on some of the different tiers there. There's a couple exclusive reviews that I've made public now. There's some older ones, so the newest content is still what is exclusive to the patrons. But I have a few exclusive reviews that are available, a couple of vlogs, so you can get kind of a taste test of what it's like. But right now, this one is available for the faithful followers and above, or no, swooning for you and above. There's also a vlog from last week that's there, and other stuff. But yeah, if you want my thoughts or a chance to win this one, because I will also be raffling off this copy, the one that I annotate for the monthly book. This one gets raffled off, which is cool, because that's a way to win it without paying lots of money for it, which is great. Okay, next up though, I read another author I'd never read before, and I will say, based on the cover of this book and all of the big flashing warnings, I was really scared to read this book. But this was the very last pre-order I had from the April pre-order. And it is called Hollow by M.L. Burns. And I guess this is a relatively new author as well, I think. I think this is only their second book, and the first book in this series was the first one, which I will be reading the first book in the series in this month, maybe? I think so. I think that's when. But we started with Hollow for the pre-order here. And this says it's a dark taboo romance. And it is taboo because it's a stepbrother romance. But they became stepbrothers when they were 15 and 17, I believe. And now it is 12 years later, and their parents have died. And they end up staying in the same cabin. The cabin got left to the children. And now they're being kind of forced to confront something that went wrong between them 6 years ago. Was it 6? Has it been 6 years since they've seen each other? I don't know. And of course, there's been a miscommunication about why they haven't seen each other. Let's see. Keone believes it's his fault. Aiden thinks it's his fault, which it's not his fault. He's partially the reason why, but it's not his fault. And I'll tell you why it's not his fault in a second. But I believe the author kind of explains it best too, that this story... Okay, so let me just say this. So apparently the first book in this series, this is the Neighbors of Sapphire Valley. The first book is called Heavy. And that one is a step uncle and step niece romance. And that one, I guess, the romance is kind of dark between the two of them. And based on you meet that couple in here, I can kind of guess some of the notes about why that one might be a bit darker. The romance between Keone and Aiden is not dark. It's kinky. They do some BDSM stuff together. But their romance is quite sweet and precious and very healing when they are falling in love, when we see their love. The stuff around them is quite dark, and a lot of that is because of two things. One, mental health stuff for Keone. Also because their parents have died. Their parents died just recently, which is very sad. And then also because Aiden has an abusive ex. Yes, I read back-to-back abusive exes. That was sad. But he is just in the throes, actually, of trying to escape his abusive ex. And I don't want to spoil this whole story for you guys because it was really, really good. I'll just tell you up front, I gave this 5 stars. It's like a 4 on the spice scale. Whatever matters about that, I don't know. But it's so heartbreaking because it's honestly the death of his mother and stepfather. Or no, his father and stepmother, yes, because the father is Aiden and his twin sister. So Aiden has a twin sister named Alicia, I don't know. But I think it's Aiden and Alicia, I don't know. It's their father, and then it's Keone and his mother. And here's a picture. I believe Keone is Hawaiian or Polynesian. And their parents got married when they were in high school. But Aiden and Keone had already started flirting with each other and were kind of into each other. And then they found out that their parents were dating. And so it had to end everything. But they never stopped kind of wanting one another. And when Keone came home for Aiden and Alicia's graduation, there was actually a kiss between the two of them. And they kissed that night. And then Keone kind of stormed out. And then they never talked again. Something happened and then they never talked again. And throughout the book, of course, you're getting flashbacks to find out why they never talked again. But to not spoil why they never talked again, but also to say that just a couple years later, Aiden meets Michael, who becomes his abuser and his rapist and his prison warden. And then Aiden is really never able to come home. And again, I don't want to spoil everything, but it is the death of his father and his stepmother that allow him the permission to leave. Because there's no excuse that Michael can make that would justify Aiden not getting to go to his parents' funerals. And Aiden is able to use these funerals, and he discovers at the reading of the will that he was left his parents' cottage in this, actually kind of this gated community called Sapphire Valley. There's this gated community around a lake, or a protected community or whatever. It's not really gated, but it is kind of protected. That gives him the space, the distance, and a place to stay away from his abuser, where his abuser can't have immediate hands on him. Now, of course, to escalate things, Michael is a police officer. Michael has done a very good job of isolating and gaslighting Aiden for years. And also Keone, he seems a little hostile towards Aiden when they both end up at this place. And of course, you're going to find out reasons why. All Keone knows is that Aiden has ignored him for all this time. And he doesn't know why. Not thinking that what is something an abusive partner might do. I don't know. watch every single thing you text someone else. And yeah, it's just such a knot to untangle. But as they are staying together and as the time ticks by, pieces start to click into place. And when they really click into place is when Michael actually shows up on the doorstep demanding to take Aiden home. And he slaps Aiden, and Keone is like, oh, motherfucker, you came to the wrong cabin. Like, this won't be happening. You won't be taking him, and you can get the fuck out of here. But anyway, I've already said too much about it. But my point being is, yes, this was suspenseful. It was dark. It has some mental health stuff. There are things going on with Keone as well. Like, there's whole things that he blames himself for as well that I don't want to spoil. But I will say, like, if you like a bit of suspense, if you like it a bit edgier, if you like a really beautiful romance, really angsty, like, this was a good one. Again, it's stepbrother, but it's not the kind that feels icky or gross. Like, they're, I believe, like 15 and 17 when they first meet. And again, they meet before they know they're going to be stepbrothers. And then they first kiss when they're like 17 and 19, I think. And then they don't get together until they're adults. But it was beautiful, and they do have to do some pretty awful things to get to be together by the end because of Michael. Michael is a psychopath, and he is the absolute worst type of abuser. And one other piece to mention, he's the type of abuser who he has a ton of internalized homophobia for being someone who has a male partner and was out to his family. Like, his family knew that he was with a man, but you can just tell by some of the things that Aiden reveals about his sex life previously. I mean, whenever it was consensual, it was very clear that near the good part of the end of it, none of it was consensual, what was happening between them. There are certain things that Michael would do to Aiden that it's very clear Michael had internalized homophobia and was acting out his sickness on his partner. And there are things that Keone and Aiden have to, like, work through those together. So yeah, I'm not saying it's not triggering. I'm not saying there's a whole list of them. The author gives them all to you. But I wouldn't say that Aiden and Keone's relationship is dark because of those. Their love was actually very beautiful. It was very beautiful. So 5 stars from me for this. 4 for the spice in here. They definitely have some kinks they explore together, but definitely heavy for what Aiden has went through and mentally hard for what Keone is going through. There is a journey that he's on as well. But I love this, and I'm very thankful to Tana for having me read this, and I can't wait to send it off to you so you can read my thoughts, because yeah, I was annotating this one while reading it, and I was shook, man. There was a lot happening here. Okay, and then the final one, this was another romance. Yeah, there was a lot happening. And this was super cool / I had chills a lot while I was reading this one. So this was another romance by my favorite romance author, Tal Bauer, who, yes, he does have a lot of backlists I haven't read. And I'm excited to read more of it. But this is The Night Of, and this was a bit confusing to me as well, I will say, because of what it's about. I thought this was connected to Enemies of the State. And maybe it is, and it just takes place at a different time. But I don't know. This one itself was a standalone murder mystery involving the president. But it also, the fact that this was written in 2021, I am very much not going to get political about this, though book does have, like, the book isn't really political. Let me be clear about that. It's about solving the murder mystery. But if you read this book and you know about some things that are political right now, you may see the parallels that I saw. But I'm not going to talk about those because that's not what I'm going to talk about on my channel. I'm just saying that while I was reading it, I was like, whoa. Whoa, when was this written? Whoa. Like, multiple times I was saying that while I was reading it. And I kept being like, when did he write this? 2021. He wrote this 5 years ago. And particularly when you find out who the killer is / who helped, I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah. Anyway, I won't hedge any more than that because, again, not looking to start a discussion in my comments about any of that. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. This is fictional. This was a fictional book. Tal Bauer is not all-knowing, could not have foreseen the future, but holy shit. Holy shit. So anyway, this was a standalone novel. And what happens is, in the beginning of this book, Secret Service Agent Sean Avery, dear Lord in heaven, try saying that 5 times fast, is on duty when President Stephen Baker apparently blows his brains out at Camp David. Supposedly. I'm not going to set up the entire scene, but he is found with the gun in his hand in the bathroom and having killed himself. And that's crazy, because how did that happen? The vice president is a man named Jonathan Sharp. And he is actually Sean Avery's ex. They haven't spoken to each other in basically a year. Kind of awkward since Sean Avery is a Secret Service agent. Now, when you actually read the book, though, I think the blurb is a bit misleading because they were barely together. So it says, my ex-vice president, Jonathan Sharp. So they weren't really together. They were just getting together, and then they got really drunk and fooled around, and then a miscommunication happens, and they both think they fucked up, and then they don't talk to each other for a year. And because they're in an environment where everything needs to be a secret, they just assume the other one hated what happened, and they don't want to talk about it again. And then they go on hating one another, or not hating one another, hating themselves for the next year. And it's Tal Bauer, so this is only told from Sean's point of view. It's a first person from Sean's point of view. And the amount of self-loathing he holds for how that night went because he got drunk. He is the top in the situation, and he feels that he took advantage of Jonathan. And then the fact that Jonathan never spoke to him for this year, he was actually surprised he didn't get arrested and thrown in prison because he thought he assaulted it. It was a whole thing in his head. But now we're at this point. The president has killed himself. Jonathan doesn't believe it, okay? He, being the vice president, but more than that, he's known President Baker his whole life. They are best friends. He does not believe that he did this. And Sean was I believe he was military police or military investigator before he was in the Secret Service. And so Jonathan asked Sean to investigate kind of alongside the FBI, because he's if they think this is a unaliving of oneself, they are not going to look deep enough. And I don't believe that he did this to himself. I just don't believe it. There were some things happening. I don't think he did it to himself. And it makes sense because, again, I don't want to go over all of the evidence of what was happening in the room to get it. But one of the big things you'll notice right away is that it looks like I don't even want to make things, but he pulled the trigger with the thumb. It was a handgun, and he used his thumb to do it. So that was one of the things that right off the bat, just from the scene they describe at the start, I was like, he used like both hands and his thumb on a handgun. And so much so that they say like when they pried the gun out of his hand, his thumb was like dislocated. Explain that. He also notices when he goes into the autopsy that there is a like bruise on the president's neck. Why would he have a bruise on his neck? Anyway, so this is a murder mystery is what this is. Even though it is shown as a unaliving. It is also a second chance romance for the romance side of it. And because it's Tal Bauer, you are equally as invested in, of course, this second chance romance getting a second wind as you are solving the murder of Steve Baker, the president and best friend of Jonathan. Like, you want to know. And what's crazy too is once you like zoom out, you realize too that this whole book like absolutely feels like it should be a movie, right? I mean, totally feels like it should have been a movie with like what's the Gerard Butler in it or something. And that in fact it does feel like it's like that, like Olympus Has Fallen. It's kind of like what it feels like it is, but make it gay. It's probably what inspired it, even if I think about it in like 2021 or something like that, you know? But it all takes place within like a week's time. Like, it is a really tight thing, because if they don't solve it quick enough, you know, the president's legacy, he'll only be known as having edited himself. And in fact, too, like, the person who did it, they could be gone because of scenario in this story. There was other people at Camp David at that time, some foreign people at Camp David at that time. So there's just a lot set up. So loved it. But again, it is Tal Bauer, and that means it is absolutely romantic as hell. And so I'm going to read a little line for you. This is Sean speaking. Why me? Out of everyone in the world, Jonathan, why me? And then Jonathan says, you are the man I dreamed of my whole life. His fingers slide through my hair. Everything we shared, all the moments we stole, pretending there was nothing in the world except the two of us. How could I not fall head over heels for you and for the world you gave me glimpses of? What life would be like if I was cherished by you? Jonathan, how could I not want everything about you? You walked out of my dreams, out of my fantasies, the make-believe worlds I created when I was alone. I never thought it was possible to want anyone like I wanted you, because I never thought it was possible for a man like you to exist. That's the kind of writing Tal Bauer puts in the middle of a murder mystery about who killed the president. So, loved this. I will say, I did give it 4 stars because the romance was great. The melodrama of the murder mystery and the politics was a lot. And like I said, when you get to the end and you find out who did it, okay. If you are aware of current things, I think you might get chills like I did. Multiple times in this book, I wrote, holy crap, it's like Tal saw the future of a few things. So, that was crazy. But anywho, there you go. That is what I read this last week. It was a great week. I love it. I'm very excited for the upcoming week as well. So again, I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. And if you took the time out of your holiday to watch this, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment down below what you're reading right now or what you read this past week. Give this a hype if you can. Check the links down below if you want to read any of the books that I talked about. And we'll see you in the next video.